Hello and welcome to the Philippines. Cost of living in the Philippines is a factor in deciding where you're going to live, where you're going to retire. It's all relative sometimes, but and my cost of living will be different than many other people's cost of living. Depends on where you are at, what kind of money you make, what your expectations and your needs are. You can live much cheaper than me, and there are many who live for probably 5 or 10 times more than what I can afford to live on. But anyway, I'm going to go over some of my costs for 6 months. I've averaged them out for the last 6 months in 2019 because that's kind of when I moved into a new condominium. I was hoping to get by on about $800 US dollars a month when I came here. I had watched some of the cost of living videos online, but reality is there are many of those videos deal with only the basics: rent, food, a little bit of transportation, those types of things. The reality is there are other costs of living, and I will try to give a very in-depth breakdown on the costs, why your costs, how you can get your costs lower, and at the same time why your costs may be higher in some instances. So I really look forward to the comments of those of you who've been here, have experienced, have had cost of living. I occasionally get comments from guys who say, hey, I live on $400 a month, but they live on the Filipino family farm and a house there, so they don't have any rent to speak of. And so food and maintenance, a little bit of medical, those types of things. But anyway, there's the cost of living is one of the factors. It's a very important factor for some people. For some people, it's just one of the factors that they consider in where they decide to live, to work, to retire to. So we're going to go over some of those factors, and I will probably put a link to this video as well that you're watching right now. First off, the Philippines is almost entirely a cash society, and very few Filipinos, a small percentage, has a bank account, and very seldom that you'll find a place that will take any kind of check at all. The value of your money, being a foreigner, will vary over time. When I first came here in 2015, the US dollar was 45.5 pesos to the dollar. Now it's got all the way up to 54 uh, 7, 8 months ago for a while, and now it's hanging out right around between 50 and 51 pesos to the US dollar. That does make a difference over time. Presently, I am paying 20,000 pesos a month for rent. I signed up for I think an 8 month lease. 6 months would have been here in January, and I didn't want to be looking for a new place during Sinulog because all the prices generally oftentimes go up. It's the high season plus the Sinulog festival, and units get much tighter to find. Anyway, that's 400 US dollars. I'm going to be using a conversion factor of 50 pesos to the US dollar, even though it's just a little bit higher than that, because it's just very easy to work with. We have a 1 bedroom. It's a furnished place, even though I'll go over later some of the expenses that I've had in adding to it, because furnished means many different things to many different people. And furnished might be a small little table and chair with a rice cooker, a plate and a cup. That might be furnished to some people, and for other people, it might mean, and here I have a stove, I have quite a few cabinets and stuff, but still, I've had to go out. I haven't had to, but to be comfortable, I've gone out and spent some money on various storage units and some chairs, extra table, that sort of thing. And those are expenses you may incur, so I'll go over some of that a little bit later. You can find places in the city probably for 10 to 12,000, a studio unit, about 22 square meters. Uh, just depends on what you're looking for, what you're willing to accept. Sometimes they're sparsely populated with furniture as well. My electric bill averages
2,980 pesos, or about 60 US dollars. And that seems a little bit high compared to electric rates where I've lived in the USA for the amount of space that I'm cooling. And I've lived in Phoenix, Arizona, Las Vegas, Los Angeles. I will suggest that your electric bill will be much higher. I've known several expats that have lived near me, the same size unit, and their electric bill is 5 to 6,000 pesos, which would be 300, about 300 peso, or 300 US dollars or so. So it just depends what you require in the way of air conditioning. I have adapted, and I turn it on primarily when the humidity gets a little bit higher, or above about 80 degrees, 85 degrees is even comfortable to me if the humidity isn't that bad. 5 condo units I had a large, very nice large refrigerator, but it was very old model, very inefficient. So I think that accounted for probably 1,000 pesos a month right there. So that will affect it. I have fiber optic cable coming into my unit. A lot of the buildings, condos that have been built in the last 4 years have the fiber optic in there, and they've been laying a lot of fiber optic into the streets, under the streets here in the last 6 months or so. I've seen a lot of that going on. I am paying for 15 megabytes per second, and I pretty much consistently get that up and down, and costing me 1,700 pesos a month, or about 34 US dollars. I'm on a cell phone plan. It's prepaid, so I don't get a bill. I pay ahead of time. You put what they call load on your phone, and I spend about 500 pesos, or 10 US dollars a month for that. Many months ago, I spent much more than that, and I have a dual SIM unlocked phone, so I can put any SIM in there I want. And I have a Globe SIM that I use primarily. It has the best service generally throughout many of the cities, including Cebu City. And then I have Smart also. So when I travel, I put load on both of them to make sure if one doesn't have a signal, maybe the other one does. Depends on where you are. You can get into areas where there's little to no signal at all. But everybody texts here. Very few people call. I got a call from from a subscriber from Australia. He's in Australia. He called this morning, but it came across on a Philippine phone number he has in Australia. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm not sure if that took any time off my phone or not. Phone calls cost about 7 pesos per minute, or about 14 cents a minute US, and texts are 1 peso per minute, or per text, I think, per text, or 2 cents per text. Incidentally, I think it's interesting to look at the daily cost of everything. And if you look at my rent at 20,000, that's 667 pesos a day, or about $13.34 US cents a day. If you add in the electric and the internet, it comes out almost to 25,000 pesos for the house. So you got your rent, your electric, and your internet, 2,400 and 24,700, so almost 25,000. That comes out to 823 pesos a day, or $16.50 a day, pretty much for that part of your house. Food cost is one of my bigger expenses, and I like to cook at home, and I think I eat much healthier. I like to cook and like the things that I like, so I can get them at home usually. I do shop at, I've done videos about shopping at SNR, which is like a Costco store in other parts of the world. But I also shop at the other markets, the Metro, the S&M, Robinsons, and a number of other ones. plus public markets occasionally. They've got the big public markets, which are generally the cheapest, and they've got smaller public markets, well, which are still usually quite less expensive than the supermarkets. Um, Oftentimes, I go to a market that it's convenient, number one, and it is has many of the things that I'm looking for. So Metro is one of those in Isle Mall, and they generally have a lot of the types of things that I'm looking for. They've got some of the international foods, but other things that I'm looking for as well. My food costs have gone up a little bit. They're presently, the last 6 months, per month, 15,650 a month, or 313 US dollars. Couple reasons for that. This 6 months started about the time we moved in here, and we had tried to delete our supplies of food down so we wouldn't have to move so much. So then when we moved into the new place, we started stocking up again, going out and getting the stuff that we wanted and needed. So that was part of it. Plus I'm changed my diet a little bit, and I'll go into that in another video about my diet, getting healthy, trying to stay healthy. Uh, I probably spend 20% of my money eating out and 80% on groceries. And don't drink a lot. That'll come under entertainment. Guy commented previously that his bar bill was 15,000 a month, so that's not my problem. My transportation costs have averaged 1,465 pesos per month, or about 29 US dollars. And I do like to walk a lot, but there are times where you need to get someplace a little bit faster. So taxis, I use taxis, I use hobble hobble, Ancas occasionally, and occasional tricycle. Very rarely a jeepney. That would save substantially, but those jeepneys are packed full so much of the time that I have not used them very often. Average trips that I take cost me between 80 pesos uh, and up to 200 pesos. If I'm going over to Mactan Island, it might be 250 pesos. If I'm going on the other side on the east side of Mactan Island, where the resorts are, the beaches are, 350 to 450 pesos. 400 pesos would be about the most you're going to spend going anywhere, and that would be $8. So 100 pesos is $2. I'm on a tourist visa, and I go down to immigration here over in Mandawi City and extend my visas either every 2 months or 6 months presently, and averages about 1,465 pesos a month, or 29 US dollars a month. And there are other types of visas that you can get, and that is a video for another time. My health and pharmacy costs 1,350 pesos per month, or about 27 US dollars. And I'm going to do another video about some of that information, but that includes everything from Advil to supplements. And there again, I've changed my health, my diet, and my supplements recently based on a lot of research, a lot of reading, and I will do a separate video about that. One thing about the Philippines, when you tell them when I first went into a pharmacy, I told them I wanted a particular item, forget what it was, but they said, "How many do you want?" I said, "I want one," thinking I'm going to get a bottle or a carton of this item. They handed me one pill. So they sell everything one pill at a time. So keep that in mind. My medical and dental expenses over the last 6 months average 410 pesos per month, US dollars. I've been fortunate to be relatively healthy, And been to doctors a number of times since I've been in the Philippines. Less than once every 6 months. It usually has to do with some type of sinus infection and coughing and that type of thing. And let me suggest to you all that you see a doctor very early on when you see symptoms, because they can get worse. There's different bugs, and you're not used to them here in a foreign country. So get to a doctor quickly. I know several foreigners who put it off and ended up with pneumonia in the hospital or a number of other ailments as well. My average entertainment costs have gone up 3,220 pesos a month, about 64 US dollars. And part of that reason is that I have a number of friends. You're here over time and you meet more and more people, more friends, and don't go out that much, but it adds up. You go out and 500 pesos, $10 here, $10 there, over the course of a week, going out a couple times a week, and it adds up over the course of a month. So if you're on a tight budget, that is one definite area that you're going to have to keep strict control of, discipline yourself, and sometimes that's difficult when you go out. Stuff costs me 1,056 pesos a month, or about 21 US dollars. That's been pretty consistent over the 4 years that I've been in the Philippines, and it includes anything that doesn't neatly fit under other things like umbrella, hangers, clothes hangers, cleaning supplies, insect killer, all that type of thing fits under stuff. And you know what? It's part of that budget, so you need to include it. It's important to include everything in your budget, or you will come up short if you're on a tight budget, especially. Rarely buy clothes here anymore, so the occasional hat or something like that, t-shirt that I buy is included under that also. And last but not least, furniture, 1,058 pesos, or about 25 US dollars. Average per month. We moved into this new condo about 6 months ago, and I spent most of that amount, 7,550. Spent most of that in the first month and a half that we were here, because even though it was a furnished apartment, it wasn't that well furnished. It had the bare essentials, but it did not have uh, many of the things, extra storage that I wanted. Two extra little tables with some storage to do my computer work on, and to make it more comfortable, and a few other little smaller storage things, 500 here, 600 here, 200 here. It all adds up. So if you're going to be in a place for a while, there are chances that you're going to start adding anything, a better mattress, a better pillow, better sheets, curtains. There are a number of different expenses that you can incur, so take that into consideration. I'm going to give you a total now for the last 6 months average, and then I'm going to tell you some of the things that I did not include and why I did not include them. So my average monthly costs have been 54,450 pesos per month for the last 6 months, or at 50 pesos to the US dollar, 1,089 US dollars. Now that has gone up about 8,000 pesos from a cost of living video I did about 6 months ago, 7, 8 months ago. And I'm paying a little more for rent. Number one, my lifestyle has changed a little bit, I guess. Things I did not include when I take a trip. I do not include that because I have budgeted about 100 US dollars a month to take a trip, about 5,000 pesos on average. And originally I planned to try to take a trip each month someplace. The way it's worked out is every 2 to 3 months, 3 months probably, I take a trip. And even then it averages out to about 100 US dollars per month when you average it out over the months. Um, I also don't include a couple of expenses I have in America, back in the USA. I have my life insurance, Medicare insurance. Part B is included in the things that I have not included. That's over 100, over 5,000 pesos a month. Um, I have not included, and I've tried to separate. Sometimes it's hard to separate out. You go out to lunch. You keep a track of your eating expenses. You try to keep track of girlfriend's expenses if you're out with other friends. Part of that comes under entertainment. Some of it doesn't. Anyway, it gives you an idea of my expenses, and there are those of you who spend much, much more than I do. You've got a much higher pension, or you've made some good investments, whatever it is. And there are a majority of the people who fit into that middle range where I'm at as far as a pension, and lower, and that it's important for you to spend less. I think it's very important that you have about 1,500 pesos coming in a month if you're going to be over here, because you will probably have some unexpected expenses, travel expenses, medical expenses, dental expenses. So my advice is have a good budget, be realistic, and keep control of your money. Anyway, thank you for watching. Please like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Safe travels to you all wherever you're at, and I'll see you next time.